But it did turn out that in the end, and I have problems with the left, but they came aboard. And they said, we're going to work with the middle. And the Democratic Party, which is always accused of being, divided, Democrats divided as usual or something, usual canard, they worked together.
Hakeem Jeffries played
and the star, another
exactly.
And he was the one that Nancy Pelosi wanted. I'm sure Clyburn goes along with him. He was the leader of the blacks. He's a young guy. He was a very, very attractive, an alternative to AOC. But you notice the squad really didn't cause a lot of trouble this time. The left, if you will, the progressive, 101 members of that caucus. I just noticed that they got only 46 against the bill. So, in other words, most of the progressives went with Biden, which is very interesting.
Let me tell you something. It goes counter to the caricature, Chris and Rev and everybody else, the caricature of the progressive caucus and the Democratic Party. They're supposed to be Marxist, extremist, this, that, the other. You look at, and it's, as you know very well, it's not always been this way with the progressive caucus. You look at the extreme discipline. You want to talk about extreme. They have disciplined themselves. They've stood shoulder to shoulder with a moderate president they don't agree with on a lot of things. They have been there for the big votes when Nancy Pelosi needed them for the big votes. They were there last night. Some of them completely respect them, say we can't vote for this, but we're there. We had Roe on yesterday who said, I'm not going to vote for it, but I understand Joe Biden did the best that anybody could have done.
Jesus Christ.
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? It's good to be back. It's good to be back for those who have missed us. RBN was temporarily suspended on YouTube. Big shout out to all the homies that called us on not Rofka, but on Rumble. We was on Rumble for most of this week. We had a Rumble launch stream that damn near had more views than a lot of our live streams. So it was a very, very successful launch. I'm very impressed by Rumble. I highly suggest people to move over to Rumble. I have no faith in YouTube at all anymore. Like, I saw people who are YouTube loyal leaving leaving comments on our old videos because we was gone for a week. Like, what happened to RBN? YouTube must have got RBN. What happened to RBN? Because obviously it must not be on Twitter and on Rumble. I implore you guys to look at Rumble and other alternatives. I implore you, because our time is deeply limited on YouTube, as you guys see with the strike we got. And I don't know what your conversation was like, CJ, but I want to tell you guys how ridiculous this ban was, because I had to explain this to family and friends, because my brothers, my mom, a lot of my family friends know exactly what I do. So I had to explain to them that I got banned on YouTube for a week. And I had maybe 5 or 6 of these conversations over this last week or so. And I was like, we was banned on YouTube. They're like, what? What do y'all do? What happened? And I'm like, bro, we played a video of European Parliament talking about COVID. And I swear, and I'll tell you guys, my family is apolitical as fuck. And a lot of them, they wear masks. They're kind of COVIDian because they're apolitical. They are so apolitical that they won't even think about the fact that Fauci is like lying to them. You know what I mean? That's how apolitical they are. So I explained to them that we played a COVID conference with someone who Dr. Jason something, who was on the COVID conference, whatever. And I said we played a video of him speaking on the European Parliament, and many of my apolitical family was like, "What? That's it? That's it? People who are not political at all? Wait, you can't say that on COVID?" My cousin was infamously apolitical. He couldn't tell you who's running for president. I was telling him what's going on. He's like, wait, what happened to free speech? Wait, what the hell?
Exactly, what happened to it?
From people who are absolutely offline. A lot of my family is offline as fuck. They don't pay attention to political discourse. They don't know what Elon Musk is doing on Twitter, for example. But even they was like, what? You got banned on YouTube for talking about COVID? What? What happened to free speech?
This is the reason why.
The reason I'm telling this story, CJ, I'll pass to you. I know you want to talk.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much done. I'll pass to you. The reason why I'm telling this story is liberals have no idea how out of touch they are, because I'm talking to ordinary people trying to explain what happened. Like you guys know, I cover news on my channel. We talk about COVID and they banned us. Just confusing as hell to average person. CJ, go ahead. I know you want to chime in.
No, what I was gonna say, apolitical people are the people we should be going after, not these
100%.
people. Not these people who are, COVIDians, not COVIDians by trade. I'm not talking about COVIDians because they're just simply apolitical. I'm talking about COVIDians by trade. They are
the Walker Braggers, the people who benefit from
the
it.
Trumpsters, all of these people who are using all these culture warriors, all of that stuff. Those are not the people we should be convincing. The Sam Cedars, the Emma Viglins, the Matt Walsh's, all these the Ben Shapiro's, all these people are jokes. The people we should be going after are people who innately understand that this is a corrupt system. Just by literally, it takes 2 seconds to look at it and be like, oh, that's corrupt as fuck. I'm out. That's literally all it takes. And that's the people we want, the people who don't vote, the people who are apolitical, the people who are in the streets, the people who are working 60 hours a week and don't even have time to plug into politics. Go ahead, Nick.
And that's what a lot of people miss, because I remember I was asked, like, am I focused on flipping Trump support? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not focused on flipping Trump support and buying supporters. If they flip, that's great. I'm not like putting a wall up saying don't fuck with me. You know what I mean? But that's not like, you gotta know 50% of America don't vote. And our registered voters, 50% of them are independent. So why should the strategy ever be trying to win the favor of one team or over the other? And as you said, apolitical people, they have good instincts. And when you are in the red-blue game, when you get bombarded by the propaganda, you start saying stupid shit that makes no sense, that you don't even know is stupid, because we showed studies before that people who follow corporate media, that follow the red-blue, are less informed. So you say stupid shit that makes no sense. We have to implement social media censorship to stop fascism. That's what the Bernie Sanders progressives will say. I actually seen Marxists or fake Marxists, fake socialists on Twitter argue that actually it's not a big deal. We gotta give corporations power. We gotta give capitalists power in order to stop fascism. That is legitimately what people believe, because they are stuck in the matrix. They are constantly engaging in red-blue nonsense. So they say shit that people in my family would never say. Well, once again, I'm talking to people who are not Marxists, not political. That's how most people in my family are. But they apolitical, so they say what I'm doing. That's just cool. That's cool. That's whatever. That's cool, right? But I tell them what's happening, how we got shut down for simply reporting on the COVID International Summit. CJ didn't say a goddamn thing.
I say that.
Play the video, and then we were banned, and most people could not believe that. But
and that's the reason why, Nick. That's the reason why, Nick, and we're going to bring in our guest. This is the reason why. This is a good transition to bring her in. That's the reason why sometimes, though, is people can't even comprehend how corrupt our government is. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Aren't we doing this for freedom? Wait, Iraq and Somalia and Syria, that's not freedom. Like, it's not that they are, it's just that it's like, it is so beyond their reality that a person or an entity would be this corrupt because they've been out of politics. But if you want to bring in our guest,
I think it'd be a good time to bring in our guest. You guys know our honorary RBN member, an amazing activist, citizen journalist. Great to have you on, my friend. Welcome to RBN, Comrade Misty, and on our return show. So this is gonna be a good one.
Yes, I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me. There's a lot to talk about.
There's a ton to talk about. Also, if you guys are not on Rumble, make sure you guys check us out on Rumble. I think we live stream on Rumble as well.
We're on Rumble, we're on Rockfin, we're on Twitter, and there's one more on Twitch. We're on Twitch. Yeah, we're on Twitch. Before we move to any other topic, I do want to just get your guys' reaction after you read this super chat to that initial video, because what they're saying in the video is a lot of stuff we can pick apart. But why I was playing it is like progressives, like there's literally not even a distinction between a corporate Democrat and a progressive anymore. But if you wanted to read that,
you guys see the praise that Joe Scarborough gave the squad, and them. They were saying how they're actually good progressives. They are good Democrats. That's the praise that progressives in the DSA left are looking for. They don't care about what we say about them. Like, if they actually care about what we say, they will get issues about war correct. They will show up to, I don't know, miss these events on Julian Assange, and they want our praise. They don't want our praise. They saw that Morning Joe segment. LC like, yeah, I'm doing good. Listen, you have anything?
No, listen, I've never seen a single one of them at any of our events ever. So yeah, I mean, even the Marianne Williamsons, who she went to an event for Julian Assange that was one of the stand-up events that Randy Credico does, and there was a camera there. So she showed up and gave a rousing speech about how we need to do more. We got to get louder. We need to be in the streets. And the very next day, I had not one but 2 street actions planned, and she didn't show up for either one of them. So yeah, they just want to be in the club. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's it. What is it?
And I actually have another video that I actually want to play since we just
play
played
that.
our Morning Joe propaganda segment. I'll read the super chat first before we get into it, because this is
I like that super chat. Let me read it to everybody while you look for that. Please converse into the future in regards to fortifying RBN from capitalist censorship. Rumble is good, but for how long? Need control of media production like Dora has control of his website. That is a great point. So we could stream or put our content on our website as a backup. We do have,
we got that out.
You know, we have multiple, but you know, all of this does take money, and we are moving slow, and that's because you know it requires money. So as we get it, this is something absolutely we agree with this super chat. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you for the super chat, GV Black. I'm gonna play this video. We just listened to Morning Joe, and that's essentially them praising the progressives for bowing down and not ever raising a fight when it's necessary. So I have not covered the debt ceiling nonsense for weeks because I told you guys exactly how it was gonna end. You have all these climate groups. Like I saw Casey summarize all these climate groups that said Biden and them betrayed us again.
Oh my gosh, I'm shocked. Shocking. This is my shocked face. Do you see it? I'm shocked. Really?
Some climate organization even tweeted out, it was like, this is a massive betrayal. More Democrats.
Massive betrayal.
Actually, when the climate, it was a student, it was one of these groups. They were like, more Democrats voted for student loan debt starting up again than Republicans did. And that's the reality. You got a bunch of progressives that voted for the pro-debt party, the pro-war party. They cut social spending. They implemented austerity while increasing the military budget. Like this happens every year. Every time they do these
every time,
right?
Every time.
And every time it happens, there should be a massive Dem exit. Like, how many times do we have to see this until you guys are like, oh, maybe next time they fight harder? And so this video gets into, like, this video is actually so disgusting. Let me share my screen here, because this is Morning Joe, and I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. Every time they do this theater, like, oh my God, are we gonna not have our budget approved? Are we gonna be degraded? Are we gonna miss the debt? Every time they do this, they pass a deal, cut social spending, implement austerity. The police gets more funding, the military gets more funding. The same thing happens every time, and they never allow it to happen. Then every media outlet comes up and like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. This is the greatest thing ever. And I want to show you guys how they just fucking with us. Like this segment is literally just Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski in the Catholic class, just fucking with us. I have no other way to describe this. Let's listen. I know you guys will have a lot to say on this.
McCarthy debt ceiling bill last night, ensuring the U.S. will not default on its debt. The final vote.
Oh no! Who would have guessed that would have happened?
Again, shocked.
I'm shocked.
Yeah,
we shocked. Listen.
3 days to 36 nays, with more Democrats voting for the deal than Republicans. The bill now heads to the president, and then it will be signed into law by President Biden. In response to the bill's passage, Biden thanked Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell for their work, and also noted, quote, no one gets everything they want in a negotiation, but make no mistake, this bipartisan agreement is a big win for our economy and the American people.
Now, first things first. First things first. The pageantry in the theater of this is unbelievably blood boiling to watch. Because look at what they say here. No one gets everything they want in a negotiation. Bullshit. You guys
Donors
got
do.
everything you wanted.
Yeah, donors get everything they want. The military-industrial complex gets everything they want. In fact, cuts to the military weren't even on the table. It wasn't even in consideration. It never is.
There was an article, there was a story I saw on Twitter. I didn't save it, where they was saying how the defense industry was praising the New Deal. Wall Street was very happy about this New Deal. So I see multiple segments. Obviously I pulled the Morning Joe one because they do the most sophisticated establishment propaganda. Most people are jokes compared to them, in my opinion. But you see, this is the message that everyone is saying. I saw Hakeem Jeffries. He was on Chris Hayes, someone like that. And he was like, "Yeah, no one gets what they want in negotiation. It was a negotiation. No one gets everything they want. This is the part of the theater. The ruling class, and I cannot emphasize. I need everyone to understand this. The ruling class got everything that they wanted in this deal. Like, it was not class negotiation, meaning that the ruling class didn't get everything they want, and the working class didn't get everything they want. No, the ruling class got everything they want, and the working class got screwed. But look how they framing this." Oh yeah, we didn't get anything we won, but the working class and the American people win. Once again, they're not talking about us. They're talking about the war machine. They're talking about health insurance companies. They're talking about Wall Street, for example. Anything else you want, guys? There's a lot more to say. I can keep it playing because it gets worse as we continue. Any last thoughts?
I'm curious to see how far you play because I have a clip from that same Morning Joe episode.
Oh yeah, you probably saw the same shit.
Yeah,
we saw the same bullshit.
I know you've seen the NATO part. I'm gonna play the NATO part when they show that. So go ahead with the.
I might have seen that too. There's a Fox segment. I may get to either this stream or next stream. A crazy anti-China segment. That's another one we're gonna get to here soon as well. Let's continue the video. There's gonna be a lot to say on this, and the reason I'm showing this because once again I'm a Marxist. I want you guys to get class solidarity. I want you guys to realize it's a class war the same way I understand it as a class war. So when you listen to this segment, I want you guys to listen to it the same way I listen to it. I listen to this as a group of capitalists doing a victory dance over their victory in the class war over the workers. Now listen to this victory dance by these rich capitalists.
Thing is to measure just what a big blanking deal this was.
Those are Biden's words.
To borrow from Vice President Joe Biden after the Affordable Care Act passed, you just go back to a week ago and you look at all of the headlines talking about how we were in crisis. We weren't going to get this done.
Because that's your job, Joe. And they do this part too. Yeah, the job of the media is to convince people that this struggle is real.
Yeah.
This struggle is as fake as it gets in Washington.
Yes.
But let's continue.
But Nick, hold on.
Go ahead, CJ.
No, what I was gonna say, and I'll turn my camera off. My daughter's homesick, as so is I, so you'll see me coughing. But I saw the same part, and I kind of stopped it at this same part when he's saying that. Now, can you play that last maybe 4 or 5 seconds? In that last sentence, he says,
"Yeah, go back like 5 seconds."
Yes,
I'll play
like 5 seconds.
Actually, yeah, I'll go from here.
Talking about how we were in crisis. We weren't going to get this done. The Huffington Post, trouble ahead for the debt deal. BBC, debt ceiling crisis looms as talks end with no
and then can
deal.
You pause it there? I think that's
no,
because what he's describing is the role of the media to pressure the American population into accepting this. Yep. So he's just pointing out, look at what we all did, guys. Good job, guys. Look at this. You said all of these things, and we've convinced people not to get into streets after slashing so many of their programs. And that's where it's like a pat on the back. It's like a good job done.
Yeah. Yeah, we explained it before. They will often do segments where they will celebrate the effectiveness of their own propaganda.
Yes.
Right? They'll repost where they were like, 2 out of 3 Democrats believe that January 6th is a giant deal. And they do that segment like, yes, motherfucker. Now remember the key part of that was 3 out of 4 Democrats because they're the only motherfuckers who believe that shit. Anyway, let's continue.
Just went on, and I think most people were predicting that this was going to be a massive crisis. The fact
more people
No.
did not predict that. What did I say 2 weeks ago? CJ, our first segment on this, I told you guys how this
You
was
said
going
it
to
a
end.
long time ago.
Literally exactly verbatim. It happened exactly how I said it was going to happen 2 weeks ago. Not a genius. I just pay attention to the shit that happens. I don't have a short memory like partisans in this country do.
Yeah.
was able to do what Joe Biden was able to do once again, and that Kevin McCarthy basically stared down the extremists in his own caucus.
Let's give it
Again, a really big deal. Columnist David Ignatius has a piece in the Washington Post titled, "Biden is delivering on his most far-fetched pledge, compromise." David writes in part this.
The president's congenital centrism is easy to criticize, especially in this era of hard, polarizing views. He's a conciliator, a deal maker who likes to say yes and has trouble saying no. He's also risk averse, and he avoids escalation when facing potential catastrophe, whether it's war with Russia or a budget default.
What the
memorable
fuck?
moment.
Come on, bro.
What the? Just wait. Can you go back? Did they really just say that? Did they really just say that? Really,
Come on,
David
bro.
Ignatius? What a turd! Really, he's risk averse. He was in charge in well, not in charge, but he was the vice president when we overthrew the government in Ukraine in 2014. So the whole Russia-Ukraine thing that started with Biden. He's not risk averse in that area, and now he's continuing to escalate that situation, pushing us to the point of nuclear annihilation. Yeah, he's risk averse. Shut up.
How is it? See, this is more evidence, and this is why liberals do more harm to causes than good, because they done a ton of harm to the climate justice movement because people know they're full of shit. So how is it, if you actually believe that the climate crisis is real, like Democrats claim they do, how is Biden's policies risk averse? Like,
Right?
so you expand public drilling, expand the military industrial complex, expand fracking. Isn't that a risk towards climate change?
Mm-hmm.
If you guys really believe it, they clearly don't. But anyway, let's continue. We watch a few more of this, and CJ, I know you. We can bounce to your other segment if you haven't ready as well, CJ. But we
I can pull up the video in a minute.
And the budget drama came when Representative Chip Roy, one of the most fanatical GOP diehards, sputtered that the deal was a turd sandwich. Well, the majority of Republicans decided to eat it. Biden's atavistic embrace of McCarthy, two white male Irish Catholics cutting a deal in private, is hardly the summit of American politics, but it was a good faith negotiation that solved a big problem. My whole soul is in this, bringing America together, Biden said at his inauguration. He meant it. And this week, he delivered.
Well, I mean,
now, do you guys see why I say we are the most propagandized country in the world?
That is
I'm gonna hear what Joe.
That is absolutely
like-
disgusting for them to describe austerity as
Yeah.
people coming together.
Yeah.
That is
As
disgusting.
a victory. And they are celebrating the working class being crushed.
Or that Joe
This is-
Biden brings people together. Since when? We're more polarized now than ever. I mean, people hate each other for no reason whatsoever. I mean, they've just been told to hate each other. Joe Biden doesn't bring people together. It's such a ridiculous thing.
Joe Biden brings people together to crush the poor.
Yes.
So they united people to crush the poor, and that's why they love him. But I'm gonna hear what Joe Scarborough says, and we probably end on his last statement here.
not only delivered this week, he's been delivering for quite some time, Willie. I mean, you look at and
No one believes you. Joe Biden is one of the most unpopular presidents of all time, and despite you guys telling yourself this, no one believes this.
I said this, make no mistake, Biden crushed the extremes once again and cleared out a space in the middle big enough to drive a truck through. He may have trouble riding a bike or walking across the stage.
There's that.
But the man knows how to get things done in D.C.
Oh, my
better
God.
than any president since Reagan. And
Now look at what his tweeting. They literally have that as their sub headline throughout the show. I'm gonna fast forward. Look, this is the sub headline. Look, Biden crushes political extremists. Political extremists. So this is them celebrating over the workers being crushed.
Yeah.
And the way they're framing it is unbelievable. So the people who fund the police more, the people who fund the military more, which no American wants, right? That's the center, rational position. Meanwhile, the extremists, the people that want to feed the homeless, make sure we have SNAP benefits, that we actually have adequate social spendings. They are the extremists, according to these people. According to Joe Scarborough, taking care of the people and not implementing austerity is the extremist position. You guys think he's better than Donald Trump?
Wait, are you saying you don't want to blow people up for profit? You don't want to do that?
You guys tell me that funding Nazis is not the modern
That's
position?
the reasonable take, is that we need to fund Nazis. That's the center, rational, reasonable take on this. Yes.
The Democratic Party lost their goddamn mind, as you guys see here.
The entire political class has lost their damn mind. The entire, whatever you want to call them, the ruling class, the predator class, whatever you want to call them, I don't care. They've all lost their damn minds. All of them.
Yeah. CJ, any other comments on this? And we can jump.
It's the same segment.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do your next. Yeah.
Yeah, let's I'm sorry, it's the same episode, not the same segment. It's the segment right after it. You may have missed it if you didn't watch it all. Not you, Nick, but anybody who's watched this episode. But listen to it. Now it's gonna play the last 8 seconds of the previous conversation, and then it goes into NATO. It's short. It's only like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But let's listen what they say and what they admit to on screen here.
And then he stopped recently, but then an announcement earlier, we heard him talking about DeSantis. So
what's your name?
Anyway, you seriously, that's not a tough question. You ought to be able to answer.
Give it a second.
Oh, the buffering circle. How we all love it.
Weightier issues here. Elise, we have the Secretary of State who yesterday was in Oslo meeting with the foreign ministers there, talking about, again, NATO, strengthening the bonds of NATO, strengthening this historic alliance, talking about pushing back against Russia's aggression and Russia's invasion. And this morning, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Helsinki. And if you just look at that map, he's in Helsinki in a country that's been historically at war with Russia, had an uneasy relationship with them. They've got, 600, 800 miles of border with Russia. And I think for Putin,
there goes the buffering again. I was going to pause it anyway, and when it comes back, I'm going to pause it because I want to pause it on the graphic. Now, let me pause it here. Now, you tell me, just looking at this map here, let's wait for it to go full screen. Look at all of the green and look at Russia. And you're trying, and NATO has convinced the world they aren't offensive. How is that? Look at this. Look at this.
Putin's the aggressor.
Yeah,
How dare you? How dare you,
And the
sir?
thing is, the two in the blue, Sweden would be in NATO. That would also be green if it wasn't for Turkey. And Ukraine, we don't know. I mean, we're hearing reports that they are, and we're hearing reports that they are. And I'm going to
I have a story on that in a second.
Hopefully I'm not stepping on. I was going to play Zelensky saying, please, please
CJ,
let us into
that
NATO.
Perfectly. No, CJ, okay. This is why this show works. We on the same page. So I have something that actually works with that because I have a story on how NATO is divided on Ukraine membership. And this may be part of Zelensky's speech. I read most of my news, so I saw a part where Zelensky said we need to surround Russia on all sides with NATO. What? After Zelensky says that, why will Russia feel threatened by the West?
Oh my God, can't imagine. He's paranoid, obviously. Putin's just paranoid.
Yeah, he's unhinged, as the Washington Post know. That's why they tried to censor what he said. But when I saw this segment, I was like, "What? How is anybody looking at this and saying this? NATO is not the aggressor? How are you saying that? That is insane." And
that's why they're losing global sentiment, guys. That's why they're losing global sentiment.
Yes.
When you look at the countries with the global population, I'll show you guys a segment from India where it was like, I know it seems like on paper that Russia invaded Ukraine, but do you guys know that The United States armed Ukrainian rebels and Nazis. Do you guys know that they had NATO encroachment? I played this segment a few months ago on the show. And even though they're banning people for saying that in the United States, especially in the UK, people in India is talking about it. People in South Africa
People everywhere are talking. We're a laughing stock. We are a laughing stock. I mean,
100%.
The only people not allowed to question are people in the UK, the people in the United States, people who are cut to the United States. But anyway, go ahead, CJ.
I'll rewind it 15 seconds and then let it play through. Like I said, it's only like 2 minutes and 15 seconds, 30 seconds. So let's listen.
In a country that's been historically at war with Russia, had an uneasy relationship with them. They've got, 600, 800 miles of border with Russia. And I think for Putin, what's most galling, it's a country that's like 2 hours away by car from St. Petersburg, from where he was born and where he grew up. But as Admiral Stavridis said, you look at Sweden, you look at Finland, you look at Estonia, Latvia, NATO is in the process of turning the Baltic Sea into a NATO lake. It's pretty extraordinary. And this morning,
the Baltic Sea into the NATO lake, and it's pretty extraordinary. He's saying it like this is this grand scheme, and like he should be going like this with his beard. You know what I'm saying? Like this is insane to me. This is insane.
As
knowing who NATO is.
As explained before on the show, for the shitlib listening who don't know, NATO stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Why the fuck they're in the Baltic Sea?
That's a great question.
And that was there are members of NATO who say the same thing.
Yeah.
Then the United States tell them to shut the fuck up. Remember who financed this motherfucker? Remember who really pulled the strings around here? I'm gonna get to that later. But
I think a lot of NATO members are. I think a lot of NATO members are silently reconsidering their positions. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that
Macron already walked back a few.
Yeah,
Macron walked back and criticized NATO members in the EU for their anti-China stance.
Yeah,
and he said that we need to look at Macron not good on the Ukraine war, but he said we need to look at an exit ramp, which is way better than what you hear from Boris Johnson.
Most people. Yeah.
So you're already starting to see the cracks form. The cracks are already starting to form. But Missy, go ahead, or CJ, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead.
NATO is essentially that friend. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell this story. You ever have a friend that's like, hey, can you come with me as backup? Yeah, this homeboy. Yeah, I just want to get bothered. And then NATO's the one who asks you to come help them as backup. Hey, no big trouble. I just want to make sure nothing happened. And then they show up with a 12 gauge. That's who NATO is. Like they tell you that it's nothing. I'm just gonna go talk to the guy. Then they show up with all this armor at the fight. They're telling you it's just gonna be a talk. And that's essentially what these NATO allies are now saying. Like, wait a minute, man. You said this is all about the North Atlantic, and now we're in the Baltic Sea. Come on, this is not what you told us this fight was supposed to be. So let's finish it out right here.
Blinken talked about Putin's historical strategic failure and talked about the 100,000 casualties, just unbelievable, in the last 6 months. Vladimir Putin has not only damaged himself economically, but he's also gutted Moscow's military might and Russia as a world power.
He's just making up. He's just making up.
Let's see if we can follow the train of logic, guys. Here's the logic that comes from these idiots.
Oh my God.
Russia must lose in Ukraine. If Russia does not lose, then Russia will invade Europe and they will pose a global threat. That is literally what they say all the time. Whenever they do this thing, if you ask yourself, why is funding Ukraine so important? I know that seems like it's far away, but we don't stop Russia right now, they're going to continue their imperial conquest. I have heard this all the time. You guys know I do alcohol on these people. I'll listen to their segments just so I know what they're saying. That's what they say. So according to their logic, Russia is an enduring threat. But at the same time, Putin weakened their military. They have been embarrassed in Ukraine, and they can't beat Zelensky's army. You guys see how those things don't match up? So if you ever want to know if our Western government is lying to us, just apply simple logic to anything. Like those logically cannot exist at the same time.
Well, listen, your starting off point should be they're lying and then go from there. That's their track record. You should
I like
immediately say they're lying,
Right.
and then if there happens to be some evidence to, that they might be telling the truth this one particular time, because they do throw truth in there every once in a while because it lends validity to the other crap that they're selling. But for sure, your starting position should be they're lying because they usually are.
I told you guys on this show, whenever I follow foreign policy, I am guided by this very simple rule. Whatever the United States State Department says is a lie.
It's the opposite.
The United States did it, and I will look into it and I'll see if that's right. And usually I'm right. That's a good start point. That's a great point, Misty, but we can continue, CJ.
Yeah, it has a few seconds left. Let's listen. Because she kind of ends it off. And this kind of illustrates the fact, because remember, she's from the Bush-Cheney administration, the girl, the female, or the woman in the blue. She's from the Bush-Cheney. And now she hears all of this.
The fact that they have somebody from the Bush-Cheney administration on to talk about foreign policy.
That's where I'm getting at, is that you see how this is so incestuous. Like, it's so that. But anyway, let's let it play. I don't want to.
It's just like Joanne Reed, just real quick. Just like Joanne Reed. I didn't say the statement wasn't worth covering, but she's like, we're gonna talk about debt ceiling. I have this former CIA officer, like, the fuck? The things have nothing to do with each other. Go ahead, CJ.
Oh shit.
Is his entire neighborhood, and if not already a NATO country, they're trying to join up, with the exception of
Belarus. Because she was cut off her first part. Let's listen.
You look at that map, and it really is just stunning to see how NATO is his entire neighborhood, and if not already a NATO country, they're trying to join up, with the exception of Belarus. I just do, though. I'm excited that later in the show we have Corey Shockey coming on to discuss her important new article, because I think it's a pretty important time in the debate over the Ukraine war, because we can continue and keep getting bogged down and putting more money, putting more weapons, prolonging the violence, or we can try to push for negotiations. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this proceeds over the next few months.
I'd be really surprised if we didn't see some move toward negotiations after the so-called spring offensive takes place, and we'll see what the impact.
After we spend some money on some weapons, we'll see. They know that the lifespan of this war is a lot of people that are coming together that would not necessarily be teamed together against this war. You see RFK. Some of the reasons why people even like him, we're going to talk about him why we don't like him, but some of the reasons people do like him is because of things like the war. Like they know the writing on the wall, the support is going down. They know the writing on the wall. Europe is in recession. The people over there is like, fuck this shit. NATO protests. They can see the writing on the wall, and, African countries is not on board with a lot of the stuff, which is problematic in what they're trying to do. But what they can't sell, and I can take this down now because that was it. What they can't sell, you can't, because I wanted to play her reaction. Wow, that's so astonishing. Mm-hmm. NATO have made Russia, they're NATO's neighborhood, or they're part of it, Russia's neighborhood now, and at the same time say they shouldn't feel threatened. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're pointing out how NATO has literally taken over the whole neighborhood, and then you go, you don't feel threatened. Go ahead.
My go-to for whenever a shitlib pretend that Russia shouldn't feel threatened, and this always shuts them up. Just like, what can you imagine if there was like Cuban fighters in northern Mexico? If there was DPRK agents?
Can you imagine if Russia had military bases on the Canadian and Mexican borders? We would freak the fuck out. We would freak the fuck out.
If Iran was doing military drills in the Pacific, can you imagine? Yes. Iran had warships over there just chilling. You're not just like, nah, that's cool. They're just vibing. That's what they expect Russia to do. But they expect Russia to see us over there doing military shit and be like, they just vibing. It's all good.
Yeah.
Do you guys know how stupid that sounds? You guys know how ridiculous that is in general? Now, Misty, anything else you want to chime in? I got something I want to add to this story. Misty, anything else you want to chime in?
No, we pretty much covered it all. It's ridiculousness as usual from mainstream media.
I'm doing it in this order since we talking about Ukraine. Then after this, we get to the main story of RFK.
Oh, I got things to say. I have things to say.
Yeah, So, progressivists at Palestine, that shit is not acceptable. Shit not acceptable anymore. But another thing that's not acceptable, which is why we have fun for Marianne Williamson, is supporting the NATO proxy war. Like, there's so many left principles for why you should be against this. I mean, obviously, being against war, as a communist, as a socialist, as a human. I don't have to say it as a communist. As a human, you should be inherently against arming Nazis. Anyone who was supportive of a Nazi militaristic agenda was labeled Nazi collaborator. That's why people call me mean. But no, I didn't forget our roots. If you was caught helping the Nazis, being sympathetic to the Nazis, you was labeled a Nazi collaborator. What happened to that? I didn't forget that. So I called Marianne Williamson and Bernie Sanders. They're Nazi collaborators because that's literally what they are. We have countless segments exposing the Ukrainian Nazis. You have Ilhan Omar and Ro Khanna. They used to call it out. Back when in 2018, 2019, Ro Khanna and Ilhan Omar used to tweet about it. Like,
everybody did, Nick.
Nazis in Ukraine.
Everybody did. There were mainstream media articles about the Nazi presence in the Ukrainian military, and there was, I mean, seriously, it was a common thing. It was common knowledge before the invasion.
So
it's ridiculous.
If they want to attend our mutual aid events, if they want to help the working class out, that's great. But I want people to know we got all the fun for the NATO left. like I call them Nazi collaborators because I don't care if they cancel me because they have crossed the line in funding war and supporting Nazis. As a leftist, as a communist, as a black man, as a human, that is crossing so many red lines for me. But also, once again, so many left values. Like, there's so many liberal values that they espouse. For example, they say they claim they care about ending gun violence. And we warned you guys on RBN, do not listen to these goddamn shit libs who are trying to disarm us. You guys know as Marxists what our positions on guns are. But it's amazing their hypocrisy because they're the one that goes around like, we got to end gun violence. Jamal Bowman, he's going to get another screaming match with somebody next week over this. You're not doing enough to save the kids. Meanwhile, Jamal Bowman in the left is voting for billions of dollars of arm deals to Ukraine. And I did a story months ago. Actually, I might as well pull it up after this, where the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, under Joe Biden said we are worried about black arms sales. And that's going to go to Nazis, white nationalists, the cartel all over the world. I mean, this is over a year ago. I'll report on this. You want to know who didn't report on this? The entirety of the NATO left. You didn't see Sam Cedar. David Figueredo. Do you think David Pacman was going to do a video talking about how our arms sent to Ukraine is ending up on the black market at about a 50% rate? Oh, but they're going to tell you how much they care about gun violence. Why we got to disarm you? We got to disarm you so we send those guns to Nazis in Ukraine. So let me listen to the report. I think I'm bearing the story enough. Meskin Media reports that United States made Javelin anti-tank missile launchers, thousands of which were recently sent by the Pentagon to Ukraine, has been spotted in the hands of the Mexico's Gulf cartel. So the party of law and order, yeah, the Republican Party, the Republican law and order, they are indirect weapon manufacturers for the cartel. Liberals who are against gun violence, they are endorsing and supporting and are complicit with a giant black market arms boom. So liberals only care about gun violence as long as it's brown people overseas, as long as we're funding Nazis in order for them to continue their imperial conquest. So, as a Marxist who like to point out contradictions in the Capitol, you can point out the contradictions to the Democratic Party and liberal talking points all day, every single day. And any take on this? I got one more receipt before we move on. Misty, CJ, anything you want to add on this before I move on?
No, I mean, it's just this is par for the course. You're right. They don't care about. I keep telling people, if you want to disarm, then we need to start with the military and the cops. Then we'll talk. Then we can talk, but not until. It's ridiculous. No, there's absolutely, and the hypocrisy makes me sick. The idea that, they prance around voting for every war that ever happens. They're fine with drone strikes blowing up children. They're fine with, the fact that we are illegally occupying and invading countries all over the world. They're fine with that, but they want to take your guns. And really, it's one of those hotbed issues. It's one of those emotionally charged issues that they use against us. They weaponize these issues because they know that there's very polarizing views, and it's another way that they can keep us divided.
And let me add this part. You can't be climate crusader activist and pro-Ukraine war. Okay?
Yes.
Let's
Thank
just put
you.
that on the table.
Thank
You
you.
can't be like, I'm for the climate, but it's okay for the number one polluter in human history to keep going and giving them more money. That just doesn't fly.
No.
RFK Jr., Marianne Williamson, every Democratic progressive that runs, like, that's just weird. Go ahead.
No, this is this is how Reuters reported on this, because this is what Russia pointed out, obviously in October. And many people say, you guys see how they lead with the Russia says this, even though the DHS was warning about this. You have multiple gun rights organizations like, yo, what about this? This what you guys doing is crazy, right? Now, like I said, Russia says West Ukraine weapons are going into the black market. Now, we've seen javelins, anti-tank missiles. We've seen the cartels being armed. There's reports of neo-Nazi groups in Brazil being getting arms as well. And this is what the DHS was talking about as well. Look at this. The DHS concerned over Nazis returning to the United States after fighting in Ukraine. Why isn't the media? Why isn't Bernie Sanders? Why isn't the people who are against terrorism not worried about what was obviously going to happen when you flood an area which was largely considered the most corrupt country in Europe before this war? The most corrupt country in Europe, get $1 billion of weapons. There was reports that CBS had to retract because they got pressured, where only like 25-30% of the weapons were in the front line. And we know that is to be true because Ukraine constantly asking for new weapons. And like, we just send you all those damn weapons. Why you need weapons for? So this is the reality of what's happening. Last thing I got to add on this issue, kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier. And I'm gonna read just a little bit of this since we're talking about Ukraine. I want to show you guys how unhinged Zelensky is and how NATO is filled with a bunch of crazy motherfuckers, crazy unhinged motherfuckers. And then there's like a few of them that's like, what the fuck we doing? Now, once again, these people are not great. I'm not saying they're great. I'm saying they are. Imagine you seeing a bunch of crazy people propose a bunch of crazy shit, and they just passively say, "Hey, I don't agree. Maybe we should have Ukraine join NATO. That's a bad idea." No, let's continue. Let's see what Zelensky says. NATO divided on Ukrainian membership as Zelensky renews call. Ukrainian president appeals to dozens of European leaders as divisions among NATO members meeting in Norway become apparent. Now, we reported on the divisions within NATO, and there was NATO representatives questioning why we are expanding next to Russia because we supposed to be the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. But listen to what Zelensky says here. Zelensky has taken its quest for more arms and Ukraine membership into powerful Western institutions. He renewed NATO membership. I'm gonna skip to the quote. Zelensky said all countries bordering Russia should be full members of both organizations, since Moscow tries to swallow only those who are outside the common security space. So you have liberals and people who are supportive of arming Nazis in Ukraine who deny Russians a claim for they are responding to aggression. This is Zelensky just straight up saying that, yeah, we should have a straight up hostile surrounding of Russia. How is Russia not supposed to take that offense? How are they not supposed to feel threatened by that? He called for more European support on the ground, which he said is saving lives and accelerating peace. That is not what's happening.
Bullshit.
Ukrainians are dying way more than Russians. I'm going to temporarily turn my camera off, but I'm still here. Let's see here. But yeah, this pretty much Zelensky calling for more NATO enlargement. Now, you had Finland that joined NATO. Turkey is still against Sweden joined NATO. That's the biggest divide, and that's mostly what they're talking about here. But this shows that if the Western leaders continue to follow Zelensky, like he's launching drone strikes into Russia, calling for complete NATO surrounding of Russia, which not anyone in NATO agrees with. But that's the last thing I wanted to share. But this is go ahead.
No, you go ahead, and then I'm gonna insert my part. As part of this story, I want to insert the video that kind of goes with this segment right here.
Yeah, this is this is the quote I was looking for. NATO's open door policy remains in place, but at the same time, it is clear that we cannot talk about accepting new members who are in the midst of a war. This from the German foreign minister.
Well, that's like that's been a long standing criteria for entering into NATO. You cannot be even considered for membership if you are currently in a state of war, period. And that is, I don't know why Zelensky thinks he gets special treatment, but he thinks he gets special treatment. I just want to say too, anybody who's interested, Kyle Anzalone, he does a lot of writing for antiwar.com and the Libertarian Institute, which I know libertarians here, don't come for me. I love Kyle. He does great work covering the whole Finland, Sweden, Ukraine entering into NATO, that whole story. He does amazing coverage of that. So definitely go check him out.
Yeah, and it may seem like this person is rational, but they are not.
No.
I want you guys to understand. Because this statement is meant to provoke Russia. What do I mean by that? So one thing that provoked Russia is this bullshit that European leaders keep doing when they say, oh yeah, Ukraine, they definitely going to be a member of NATO. One day, not quite sure yet, we're going to leave the door open for Ukraine. So what they're doing is endangering Ukraine and provoking Russia, because Russia like, what the fuck? Ukraine, we had an agreement. The Minsk Accord, we had an agreement that Ukraine do not join NATO. So by saying that Ukraine going to join NATO, that provokes Russia, while at the same time putting Ukraine at risk by not putting them as official NATO members. But I will put out the distinction, and many people have been reporting on this recently, Ukraine has been funded significantly more than other NATO members. When you look at how you had CIA officers, you had British intelligence officers in Ukraine. We now supplying them F-5 fighter jets, long-range drone missiles. They are a de facto NATO country.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is the only reason they're not accepting NATO in Ukraine so they can continue to make the political claim that Russia has no reason to wage war with them. That's why even though this person saying this statement, they're not a good person, because they know we are going to essentially have you as a NATO member, but we're going to keep like a carrot on the stick. So Russia can continually be threatened and continue and have a reason to wage war. That's what that's really about. But that's my last thing on this topic. We can get to the main story. We almost are in. That's a good warm up. CJ,
let me play this. Let me just play this video. It's less than a minute. This is President Volodymyr Zelensky speaking himself. Let's listen to what he says.
I would like to emphasize in summer in Vilnius at the NATO summit, the clear invitation to membership for Ukraine is needed, and the security guarantees on the way to NATO membership are needed. In fall, on our accession to the EU, clear positive decision is needed, and we are also preparing for peace summit, which will guide the world majority to implement the joint peace formula. And it is global needed. The time has come, and the doubts must vanish. And I thank those who are helping, those who understand that every step in air defense enforcement is literally saving lives. And the speed of forming these two coalitions, the coalitions of Patriot and coalition of modern jets, is literally accelerating. I would like.
That's him. He wants the membership this upcoming summer. That's what he's asking for.
Go fuck yourself.
I don't know. Is he playing the role? This part, does he know that they're really just dangling this, or does he really believe? What do you think, Nick?
He playing his role. He knows he's gonna be taken care of no matter what after his service. But this is he's gonna continue to make this plea because that's his role, to be the guy who aggressively advocates for Ukraine, and like almost like that that guy who's hit on the girl playing hard to get, and that's his role to do that and give the appearance that it's gonna happen. Even though everyone knows it's not going to happen, they just use this to provoke Russia. So, and that's the biggest criticism of Zelensky. It's obvious that he sold his people out.
Yes.
He was elected on a peace platform, and he is prolonging this war. And even in that statement, he says we are saving lives. But there have been reports of 300,000 plus dead Ukrainians in this war.
Oh, dude, they have completely slaughtered an entire generation of Ukrainian men, period. Like the Ukrainian people have been unbelievably devastated by this situation. And he does not seem to care in any way, shape, form, or fashion that is the case. And he's so gross. The things that he's doing, it is very intentionally attempting to escalate with Russia. I mean, just recently he tweeted out from his official social media a very altered video of Lindsey Graham, who I'm no fan of, but it made it appear as if Lindsey Graham was saying that Russians dying was like the best money we've ever spent. It's not what he said. Listen, I totally believe Lindsey Graham probably thinks that. But he, I mean, that attempts to escalate things. I mean, one of the high-level Ukrainian members of government gave a statement somewhere where they said they openly admitted that they are attempting to assassinate Vladimir Putin. What? What are you doing? Why would you say that? I mean, Putin made a deal long ago that he would not attempt to assassinate Zelensky, and he has held to that over this whole time. There's been no assassination attempts on Zelensky that we know of. There have been assassination attempts, or at least the appearance of them, on Vladimir Putin, and there's this constant pecking. You know what I mean? He's like constantly trying to escalate, and I think, again, as Nick said, he's just playing his role there.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that during the beginning of this war. Now, things have changed. Russia said, Zelensky fucked up, he got to go. But a lot of people don't know, in the beginning of the war, Russia even offered for Zelensky to stay in charge in their initial peace charges. Like, their demand was not for Zelensky to step down.
No.
Now they have since changed the position. Putin gave
Of course.
usually say, like, after what Zelensky has done, the way he obviously don't care about the Ukrainian people, the way he went endless war with Russia, he wanted to be a puppet of the West, he has to go for peace to happen now. And that's because of Zelensky's actions. It's just that simple. That was not his demand. Look it up. That was not his demand in the beginning. If it was, can you imagine what the media? Imagine the media would be constantly saying that Putin demanding Zelensky to step down. They didn't run that story because they couldn't. That was never that wasn't their demand to recently. To maybe I saw the speech last winter. That's when I saw it. When I was aware, they're like, yeah, Zelensky gotta go, and at that point it was too late. So at this point, we can get to the main story.
Yeah, let me just add this point let me just add this point because you mentioned we spoke about the number of people, and you said a generation of Ukrainian, and we have lost, and also this part here. I just want to show the headline. This because of that lost generation, they resorting to Ukraine sends poor and untrained men into Bakhmut meat grinder to save better forces for counteroffensive, and that's what they're doing. And I covered this already in another segment. It'll be published tomorrow, I think. So if you want to check out the whole segment, but is essentially where they're just sending in people to their certain death. Like they're just, hey, go in.
No training, no proper equipment. I mean, they're getting all of this military equipment and weapons from the United States and from the West and from Europe and all of that stuff. And yet there's a lot of reports from Ukraine that they are being sent out there without the proper equipment, with very little, if any, training at all. And they are just, it's essentially a suicide mission. They are just sending these people to the front line to die for no reason. None.
Yeah. Big shout out to everyone watching on Rumble. Remember, we are on Rumble as well. Make sure you guys work on switching over. We was banned for a week. For people who don't know, for new people watching, it was banned for a week. So we are back with our friend Comrade Misty. We're on Rumble as well. Tomorrow, Jimmy Dore will be joining us.
JD.
As well. So that's gonna be we're gonna have a big Rumble launch weekend as we are with Misty.
Yeah, let me pop that up there so they can see.
Yay,
so this is the graphic. Everybody check it out. So when you see this graphic, it'll be around this same time. So make sure if you're not on our Substack, I'll throw it up in there in a minute when I do announcements. Get on our Substack so you can get the link when we go live, and you'll have it directly emailed to you. So go ahead, Nick, if you're gonna.
So we have Pasta coming on next week. We was trying him in this week. We were traveling, but he's coming.
We had our first fight.
Really? RFK?
RFK, yeah.
We didn't really fight, but he was on my show Monday, and it was right after the Roger Waters bullshit, and he feels very differently than I did. And it doesn't matter. I love Pasta regardless. It's the very first time in years that we've been friends
Maybe
that
he
we've
has
had.
changed a little bit since he went out and interviewed him.
Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see.
His answer sucks, so I hope so.
Yes.
Because it's a terrible fucking answer.
He knows
Yeah,
it
so
too.
he-
Costa can tell.
He
You can
knows,
tell
yeah,
in the
he
video.
knows.
He's like,
He
oh, damn.
knows.
He's like,
Yeah.
oh, damn.
It's like that moment where remember when Jordan was interviewing Marianne Williamson and he was just like
Yeah.
he was just in horror.
He was
at
trying
her
to like
answer.
feed her.
Like,
please.
Jordan was interviewing Marianne Williamson. He had to look on his phone like, oh my god, RBN is definitely about to fucking
Yeah.
roast her.
And he was trying desperately to like feed
Yes.
her the right answers.
He was
Like,
trying so hard.
yeah, it didn't work. Sorry, Jordan.
Anyway, so there you continue. I'm right.
Yeah,
here with you guys.
those two words, shambles and horror. He watched in horror.
He was.
All right, so let's get to this. Actually, let me do a couple of announcements. Of course, we have Comrade Misty joining us today, honorary RBN member. And for those who are watching us on Rockfin, on Rockfin, yes. What's up on Rockfin? What's up on Twitter? And then our newest, platform is Rumble. So welcome to those on Rumble. Whatever platform you're on, make sure you hit that like button. Also, we have YouTube memberships, $3.99 for those that are brand new. Now, here's the Substack I mentioned earlier. Get on our Substack so you get notifications. So we had like a little a panic launch is what Nick called it on Rumble last week because we got a strike. The plan was to have this Rumble launch on the 24th. That was the plan. We had the flyer made and everything, or graphic is what it's called now. Graphic made and everything, and then had the strike. So now the official launch is tomorrow, and I showed you the graphic with Jimmy Dore. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. Curious to hear what he has to say about what RFK, this video right here, and also the debt ceiling. So we'll be talking to Jimmy about that. And if you have questions, maybe I'll have you submit questions here. So we've never done this. So here's our email. If you have questions you would like us to ask Jimmy Dore, send them here. info@revblacknetwork.com. In the subject line, put Jimmy Dore questions. Jimmy Dore questions. And not saying we're going to read them all or even any of them, but at least because I don't want people they send some crazy stuff. I don't want you to get your hopes up. So we're not gonna be asking no crazy stuff. And here's our website, and this will be the last thing before we get into the subject. Website revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. Check us out. And welcome to those on Rumble. Again, our newest platform with RBN. So let's get into the Zionist left. No. And we're going to start with RFK, and that's the reason sort of what prompted the segment. But we have some updated news from Marianne Williamson, and it stems from this, everybody talking about this, and then she responds.
I'm super behind on this shit. So
she responds in a Brianna Joy Gray tweet about this video. Brianna Joy Gray quote tweets this, and then Marianne Williamson responds and basically says, this is not her stance. I don't know what you guys are talking about, that we have the same stance. And I'm like, okay, I guess we'll find out what the difference is, but let's start with the video. This is the genesis. This is and this is Pasta from Convo Couch that went when he was driving out, and we saw the reporting when he was driving to the event and got to the event. He was like, I hope I can get a question in, and turns out he got the question of the day by far, in my opinion.
And he came in clutch with the follow-up because
yes.
Good job, Pasta.
Yes. So let's listen.
Mr. Kenny, a lot of people are confused about the tweet storm. I call it the tweet heard around the world. A couple of tweets were put up in support of Roger Waters and then taken down. Do you want to give us a little explanation of why they were taken down, and also your stance on Israel and Palestine?
I tweeted that. I made the tweet applauding Roger Waters' courage in opposing the COVID mandates and the Ukraine war. I was unaware of his position on Israel. And when I learned that, I immediately took it down. My position of Israel is that I support Israel. My family has a long relationship with Israel. I support.
You guys see this part? Horrible. For one, as we said, horrible.
Horrible.
For two, I don't know. Let me know if you guys got the same vibe. But RFK probably don't know who Pasta is, right? So it's
Probably
almost
not.
like he responded in this question
Thinking
like
he was an Israel
asked by a
supporter.
liberal.
Yeah.
Like it almost like he thought Pasta was like a liberal. Like, why was you tweeting with? So he gave his response that he would give a Democrat. He was like, well, actually, I didn't know that. I actually stand in support of Israel. Then that's why Pasta was probably watching horror as he see this tweet. You realize I'm not a Democrat, right? So that's what I get. He answered this question like Pasta's a Democrat, and that's why this clip went so viral, because he says the worst response possible to Pasta in this moment. But let's continue.
All right, so let's go here.
And his right to protected security.
And the Palestinians.
Let me just say. So I meant to insert this, and I'm gonna replay it.
Yeah, replay the part where he says that again.
Yeah, because I'm a person who does a lot of my just understanding of a person, whether I feel like they're on point as far as what being truthful is in just my history of human behavior and understanding what it means. And when he goes into this question about Israel and his answer, he seems very the shell of himself in other instances. Yeah, he's just like, he's like real, like almost ashamed of his answer.
He should be.
And so it gives me a sense that he understands this is not the greatest answer to me, because it's a different look. He's direct eye contact right before the question and after the answer, but during it is real, and that's a tell to me. So let's listen.
Courage in opposing the COVID mandates and the Ukraine war. I was unaware of his position on Israel. And when I learned that, I immediately took it down. My position of Israel is
right here.
I support Israel. I support, my family has a long relationship with Israel. I support its right to exist and its right to protect its security.
And the Palestinians?
And a humane outcome and a recognition ultimately of the aspirations of the Palestinian people.
What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? The aspirations. You know what the aspirations of the Palestinian people are? They want to live in peace in their own country without being brutalized, without being genocided. That's what their aspirations are, you absolute turd. And the idea that he had to be prompted to even mention the Palestinians says it all. Disgusting. Disgusting.
And when asked about the Palestinians, he read directly from his statement.
He
says literally exactly what his statement says. The aspirations of the Palestinian people.
What the fuck does that mean? Seriously.
It means fucking nothing. And if anything, the best I can come with is a negative. That he wanted the Palestinians to be nice under Israeli apartheid. Like that's the status quo of the two-state solution.
And Israel has a right to protect itself from what? From kites that are on fire? Like that? What the fuck are they protecting themselves from? They took over a country and are kicking people out, taking over their homes, brutalizing their people. It's an apartheid state. They're murdering children, and they get to protect. Go fuck yourself, dude. It's so gross.
Whenever someone says that, it's so disgusting. Because imagine if you see like a 19-year-old Mike Tyson. I'm talking about Mike Tyson when he was like 19, 22, a beast. And you like see a monster. You see him just welling the shit out of a 10-year-old. And then the 10-year-old like, he fighting, screaming. And he's like, 10-year-old, what are you doing? Hey, Tyson
has a right to protect himself.
Tyson the aggressor beating the shit out of his kid. And you're like, how dare the kid fight back? That's what's happening because Israel is propped up by the United States military. It's propped up by the UK. They are sent billions in arms. It is not a war. It is not a conflict. It is a genocide.
Yes.
It is a genocide. It's not a war, not a conflict, not a clash between Israel and the Palestinians. There are Palestinians whose land was illegally seized. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians removed from their land during the Nakba. Generations of trauma. Palestinians being executed by Israeli police. Their mosques being raided. The most grotesque violations. The water is constantly poisoned. I read numbers like 95% of the water in Gaza has been poisoned.
Uh-huh.
And this is by the Israeli military. So these people are under occupation, and it is literally, it is under international law. They have the right. You have the right to fight your occupier.
Yeah.
Israel is occupying, and they're a settler colonial state, waging genocide against Palestinians, forcing them from their homes, doing everything that Amnesty International and many groups consider to be a genocide. So when you say that Israel had the right to exist, like Marianne Williamson does, when you say they had the right to defend herself, like many of these progressive except Palestine people say, you are literally justifying and backing up and enabling the United States enabling of the genocide of the Palestinian people. It's an unacceptable position.
Yes.
Absolutely unacceptable.
Yes.
But CJ, go ahead.
Yeah.
I know
So
I'm like,
I'm gonna get fired up. Like, this really makes me angry. So if I start ranting, just tell me to shut up. But this really pisses.
No,
me
go
off.
ahead.
No,
Yeah,
it
this
really,
is-
like,
this
people
is
are
the
making
segment.
excuses for him. Like, oh, well, he has to say that. That's what you have to support Israel if you're going to run. Get fucked. You know what
Well, I
happens when
saw
you
that.
continue to do that? Israel gets to continue to brutalize Palestinians. The longer you make excuses for this, the longer that continues. I'm so tired of people being cowards about this issue. It is not okay. Israel hides behind claims of anti-Semitism. Anytime you want to criticize them, you want to come and call me an anti-Semite, fine. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to be silent on this issue. And this cowardice is exactly why Israel continues to get away with this shit. Period. Stop
And-
making excuses for this shit. So gross.
I learned from Bernie in the squad not to overlook red flags.
Yes.
Now it's not just one issue; it's a red flag.
It's a
Why
lot.
are you showing a weakness on this issue? Why are you bowing down to the Israeli lobby?
Yes.
You're and people and I've seen the pathetic excuses where they say RFK he has to say this because he's a politician. Why the fuck does he?
Go fuck
He does that
yourself.
because he's a coward. And
God.
if you're willing to walk for on this issue, he's
Yes.
gonna walk for on other issues.
Okay, you want to know what makes me angry about this even more is people keep coming at me because he said he would free Julian Assange on day one. That's really easy to say when you know you're not going to win. But second of all, if he can't even stand up to Israel, you really think he's going to stand up to the deep state and free Assange? Come on. No way. This right here shows that he has no spine whatsoever. Either that or he genuinely, and I don't know which is worse, he genuinely does truly support Israel, which means he is a fucking fascist and he can get fucked.
Yeah, I don't know which one's worse. But go ahead.
I don't know which one's worse.
Let me just read it. This is the tweet that was taken down. Fortunately, Primo Radical actually got a picture of it before he deleted it. And it says, Roger, you are the global hero Orwell had in mind when he said, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. The high stakes. Now, isn't it ironic that telling the truth is a revolutionary act and RFK took it down? Was it a revolutionary act?
I know that's why it's so fucking funny and pathetic.
Yeah.
So ironic. So the high priests of the totalitarian orthodoxies are trying to silence you with censorship, gaslighting, and defamation. Please keep speaking truth, power. I think is there another one? I don't think there's another. No, that's it. So that's the one that he. I mean, it's nothing else to say but cowardice. There's nothing else.
Yes.
To say about
I seen like the same with Marianne Williamson supporter. There were so many RFK fans that were disappointed because we didn't want to prop up their favorite politician. That's ever been that's not my thing. But I'm tired of these old sock Dems. Like, at what point do we evolve and move past the RFK and Bernie Sanders? Just move past social democrats, these motherfuckers that come from capital. So me and CJ, what we're proposing, RB, what we're proposing is a legitimate floor and ceiling here, where people say, well, Marianne Williamson not as good as Bernie, RFK not good, Bernie people not good, Bernie not a big deal. No, Bernie was the compromise and the standard that we would never accept again. Like, we need leaders like Sharma Sawan, where you don't have to be like, I hope they get the position right. Like, how many times have we catch Sharma like, wow, oh my God, why she get Ukraine wrong? Why she get labor issue? No,
isn't she fucking with DSA though right now? Doesn't she? She's got some thing going with some DSA people. That makes me a little concerned about her. But yes, generally speaking, I agree with you. But listen, it doesn't matter, Nick. Does it even matter what The electoral system is broken. It doesn't work. Your vote doesn't matter. So it doesn't, you really think they're going to let RFK Jr., even if he were good on issues, especially if he is good on issues, win the presidency? Of course they're not. It's ridiculous to even assume that that's a thing. If you want to go and support these people because they raise awareness for issues that you care about, fine. But don't be delusional about the fact that they're ever going to let somebody who actually gives a shit about the people win the presidency, period. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, the most important thing for me is if you're not advocating working within the Democratic Party, and I was at Worker Strike Back, that is not their goal. That is not their vision. The disappointment with DSA is their plan and their willingness to work within the Democratic Party. Those are two important distinctions. As organizers, as revolutionaries, we're going to have to work with people who are with fucking Democrats every once in a while. That's the problem. But are we shifting them away from the two-party duopoly, or are we shifting them to the two-party duopoly? And my thing with Shama, at least they have an organization that is militantly against the Democratic Party, and that's my litmus test personally. But back to RFK and Marianne Williamson, well, I am saying that we can do much better. Like RBN, the reason why people get upset because we don't support the favorite politician is that we propose higher standards. Like, why are we looking towards capitalists? Why are we looking towards millionaires? Right. Why are we looking for the fucking Kennedy dynasty to save us? The fuck is wrong with you people? Like, I want us, and the message for RBN since day one, and I don't know why people misunderstood this, is for us to save ourselves. We become our own hero. Rome is our hero, not a fucking politician. We become Misty's a hero because she does what Assange. I know of course you're gonna say that, but I'm making a point. Of course you're gonna say that. But if you inspiring people, if you're doing action, if you're in the streets, if you're actually committing something, you are a community hero. Why are we looking to oligarchs? Well, if they're on our side, great. If they're class traders, great. But why are we looking for a fucking Jesus? Why are we looking for capitalist Jesus? The Vanguard fucking all these people who support Marianne Williamson, these people. Millionaire white women. Yes, a millionaire white woman arrived. Exactly what we fucking need.
A millionaire white woman who is so wishy-washy on literally everything. She whatever is politically advantageous for her, whatever position that is, she has flip-flopped on so many major issues over the course of the past couple of years that we've been aware of her. It is astonishing to me that anybody takes her seriously. She has no actual politics. It's just, what do I need to say at this moment in time to make people like me? And I don't do that. Like, if you don't have a firm grasp of who you are and what you stand for, I have no time for you. And especially if you're running in the Democratic fucking Party. And it's astonishing to me that and what's so frustrating is, and this is why the pasta thing really got to me, because he's so much smarter than that. He knows, of all people, Pasta knows that the election system is broken. And so the idea that he is still getting sucked back into this system every 2 to 4 years, that's why we're never going to get off this hamster wheel. We are never going to get off this hamster wheel. Every 2 to 4 years, they're going to throw some smooth talking salesman at us, and a significant portion of the population will fall for it. And we're just going to keep doing this forever and ever until the empire collapses and we all die. I mean, it's fucking crazy. It's crazy.
That's exactly on point. And at RBN, we're trying to get people to think differently. Like, in order for, like, people, I've seen people like Marianne Williamson, RFK fans, they complain about, they're like, why you, of course, he not getting Palestine issue right. Oh my, why you got so nitpicky? Yeah,
that's Marianne Williamson, nitpicky.
Yeah, Marianne Williamson supports arming Nazis in Ukraine. Why you guys so nitpicky? She support war. I'm like, you guys understand. I'm a Marxist. I come from a poor, disenfranchised class. I had conversations with Finney. I'm trying to believe this. I had Kamala with I had Kamala as well. We were talking about how we need self-determination, especially among the Black community. We need to lead ourselves. I'm not interested in looking for a white hero. I'm sorry that might hurt you guys' feelings, but we need, at some point, as a community and as a movement, we need to look to ourselves as leaders. So in order for me to anoint RFK and Marianne as leaders, RFK coming from the Kennedys, Marianne Williamson coming from Oprah, nigga, they would have to be flawless on every issue.
Yeah.
CJ, they would have to be flawless on every issue for me to be even remotely on board. So you guys want me to accept them with their flaws?
No. And Palestinian freedom is not nitpicking. Are you fucking joking me? Like the idea that I got that a lot over the past week since this whole thing started, is that people, oh, you're nitpicking, or oh, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You're letting perfect be the enemy of good or whatever. That's not good. He's a fucking fascist. If he actually supports Israel, an apartheid state that is committing genocide against Palestinian people, I don't fuck with fascists, period. I don't know why anybody would. Like, that's, and you're on the left and you're willing to excuse that. It's just and it's not, like Nick said earlier, it's not the only red flag. Dude has decades of first of all, he's a Kennedy. Second of all, he's running in the Democratic Party. Third of all, he has a decades-long history of being friends with, endorsing, supporting, stumping for, making campaign videos for the absolute worst of the worst of shit lips. Hillary Clinton, Gavin Newsom, you name it. John Kerry, he praised John McCain after he died of some bastion of decency or whatever, like AOC did. And y'all are willing to just let all of that stuff slide because he says some good things about some pet issue that you have. Like, frankly, it's offensive to me when people come at me with the Assange thing, because I am not that vapid. I am not that single-minded that I am.
They did that with us in reparations with Marianne Williamson.
Palestinian lives are not collateral for Assange. That's not a deal I'm willing to make. And I don't think Assange would either, frankly. So don't come to me with that bullshit. It's garbage. I'm over it.
I just had Nkosi Mandela on, and we talked about how important it was to show solidarity. He was talking about the solidarity that South Africans and Palestinians have with African Americans in our country. Talk about the genocide of the police. He said he considered it genocide. Like, so, and Palestinians speak about it as well with George Floyd and their morals. There have been decades of a tradition from the Black Panthers, who was staunch Palestinian activists as well, of Afro-Americans, South Africans, Afro-Brazilians. You have Lula in Brazil and his constituency that stand for Palestinians. So you guys are asking us to break that chain? For what? We breaking that chain for Marianne? So according to RFK people, I'm supposed to betray Nkosi Mandela and the solidarity that he came on our show, doing a tour about the Nakba for standing for Palestinian people. He does so the same way that Nelson Mandela did, right? So we're not going to break that chain for ambitious sock Dems who want to sell a book later.
Yes.
Does it serve my interest? I'm sorry, but CJ, you can continue.
Yes. So we're just going to read a couple of paragraphs from this article and then any other reaction. So, of course, they bring up the tweet where he's saying his support. So he took down one tweet and put this up. I'll read it, but Black Agenda Report and Margaret Kimberly covers it. I'll read a couple of paragraphs from her article.
I know Black Agenda Report wasn't that bad.
Yes, it's on point.
I didn't see this. Damn.
And my regards about Roger Waters. It's almost like he's sending a letter to the Israeli lobby. Mm-hmm. I was referring to his dissent. Just think, I'm going to add to the Israeli lobby. In my regards about Roger Waters, I was referring to his dissent on COVID and the war in Ukraine. I have only recently learned about some of his other views, which I do not share. I support Israel's right to exist within secure borders, and I also support the
Palestinian borders
of the Palestinian people. Go ahead, chime in. Go ahead.
Like these are moments when we need someone over our shoulder just grill them word by word, step by step. So we say secure borders. Which ones? Are you talking about the borders set up during the 60s? Or the one you mean the 80s, the 2000s? Because they keep moving. I mean, Palestinian borders in their territory get less and less. So when you say Israeli borders, you got to be very clear what border you're talking about. Are you talking about 2010, 2015 borders? Because Israel keeps growing. Palestine keeps shrinking. Because they're committing apartheid and genocide, ethnic cleansing, if you will. So when you say borders, you gotta be very specific when you're talking about here. So that's him. Well, that statement is so disgusting. If you're well read on this issue, you realize how the secure borders part is probably the worst part of them all. Because Israel keeps expanding their border within Palestine illegally, and you saying they have the right to do that? I'm not reading too much into it. I talked to the Palestinian Network. We're gonna have Ashley back on here soon. We're gonna coordinate that eventually. I was in coordination. I was talking to many of them when we had Nkosi Mandela on. I am reading this. I adopted my language based on what they the way they talk about their liberation, their freedom.
Mhm.
Like the idea of you talking about securing Israeli borders is fucking blasphemy at the highest level
It's
to
gross.
Palestinian activists. Do you guys understand that?
Yeah.
You talking about aspirations about Palestinian people means fucking nothing.
It means nothing.
After saying that.
And
Anyway,
the phrase "right to exist" that is directly from AIPAC. That is Israel
Yes.
propaganda right there. And the idea that he's regurgitating that stuff uncritically and is again the aspirations of the Palestinian people thing makes me so angry because that is just not. It's gobbledygook. It means absolutely nothing, and it speaks nothing to what they're dealing with. And the idea that he couldn't even be bothered to bring up the numerous human rights abuses and the numerous war crimes and the murders and all of the stuff, not one word, not one mention of the things that Israel's doing to the people of Palestine, but he supports their aspirations. Fuck off.
Does it make me unreasonable to make me side-eye him even more because he get Ukraine right? I see some people say, well, at least he get Ukraine right. No, wait, hold up. So the fact that he got Ukraine right is, I know you see through empire propaganda. I know if you get that right, and I see him call out China aggression as well, which I was impressed by. Like, if you see through this shit, you tell me you don't see through Zionism. This is why I said this kind of made me side him more. And let me know if that's unreasonable. No, I'm saying that because if you're smart enough to see through it and you still support apartheid, I'm like, whoa, you making calculations, son. You doing something in your head and you performing in front of people. You're not actually being yourself, which made me believe you're gonna do that on other issues.
For sure.
That's a sign of things to come. Like, that's how my mind thinks. That's why I'm I've been burned too many times between when I was a young, dumb teenager with Obama to more recently a few years ago with Bernie Sanders. Like, I got a lot of trauma. Like, there's a lot of things that trigger me with leaders now. Like, when I see this stuff, I'm like, okay, Bernie again. Oh shit, Obama again. Go ahead, Steve. I know you want to
let me add a couple of things here. One, this has been carefully crafted. The words are surgically placed. This word here, legitimate. Think about that. This is legitimate, meaning I support their right to exist, and I support Palestinians if it's legitimate. That's sort of applied to all oppressed people.
Yep.
Not just you just being mad. You know what I'm saying? You have to be something legitimate that you're bringing up. So
great point.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is, let me read it and let's apply United States, the Atlantic slave trade in that context. I support a slave owner's right to own a slave. And I also support the legitimate aspirations of slaves to be free. What? You support the legit? You see how you're downplaying and you're minimizing what the oppressed person wants, and that's a general aspiration, but you support the concrete thing that's oppressing people.
Yep.
He's making a choice between oppression and not oppressed people. That's what he's doing here, and it's a conscious choice that all of these sort of sock Dems are making, but this is a conscious choice. So when you think back, when you ask yourself, I wonder during 1800s and slavery in the United States, I don't know how some white people just sat back and really? We're seeing it right now.
We're seeing it right now.
We're seeing it right now.
On multiple fronts. It's
Right
not just
now.
the one. It's Ukraine. It's Israel, Palestine. It's what's happening in Somalia. It's what's happening in Syria. It's happening all over the place. We are the bad guys in almost every single, probably all of those situations. And there's a whole lot of people who are not only not saying anything, but are actively supportive of it.
That's what's most disgusting to me. Let me just read. It's just a couple of paragraphs that she breaks this down, and I love how she inserts this in historical point in the beginning. In 2015, Black Agenda Report co-founder Bruce Dixon coined the term sheepdog to describe the role that Bernie Sanders would play in the 2016 presidential campaign. Dixon
was 100% right.
Absolutely on point. I love Bruce Dixon. But Dixon precisely said, quote, Bernie's job is to warm up the crowd for Hillary, herding activist energy and the disaffected left back to the Democratic fold one more time. Now, what energy do we have to have one candidate? And you mentioned why. Now I'm starting to think his stance on Ukraine too is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
What energy do we still need to get? the energy that's anti-war. You got to have one candidate for that, right?
Yep.
In the Democratic Party, and isn't that what he's playing? But let's continue. Herding activist energy and disaffected left back into the Democratic fold one more time. Bernie aims to tie up activist energy and resources to the summer of 2016, when the only remaining choice will be the usual lesser of two evils, end quote. The word stuck, and since that time, the question is rightfully asked whether a particular Democratic challenger is serious about getting the nomination or is merely a sheepdog who will herd supporters back into the hands of their party's oligarchy. And that's the question. I love how she inserts that first. Like, is this legit? It's always a question. And we are always faced with this on the left, with any candidate at any level. Is this just a sheepdogger, and it's particularly at the presidential, or is this a legitimate person? Now, in 2016, people thought that was a legitimate person. That's why people gravitated to the Bernie Sanders and the Bernie Sanders campaign. But let me read on and how she applies it to the RFK now. The question arises again now that RFK has announced his presidential campaign. Kennedy obviously has the advantage of name recognition, and he isn't shy about making frequent references to my uncle and my father. Yet he is attractive to leftists in the party because he is willing to take positions in opposition to its established orthodoxy. He does make the obligatory reference to Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, but he also points out what not one in the Democratic Party will say, that the war was provoked by U.S. actions and calls the billions of dollars in allocation to the Ukrainian government, quote, money laundering operation for the military industrial complex. And I'm going to stop here before she gets into the critique, and to point out this is the reason why people like RFK. But Nick, the point that you make, Nick, and I want you to chime in here, the point that you make about now you're starting to think, because if we were to answer the question she asked first, and we'll have you chime in also, Misty, which is this legitimate or is this just a sheepdogger? If it's a sheepdogger, Nick and Misty, wouldn't he just purposely have these far left stances to grab those people? How else? What other bait are you going to grab to use to grab those very far left people as you can get, and to bring them back into the fold? What say both of you on that point?
I'm a cynic, so I say he's a sheepdog, but that's just me.
My position, I think they're both trying to sell books.
Yes.
If you
I've been calling it the book sales campaign. That's what it is.
Dude, there are times where RFK spitting, but he'll plug his book a few times.
Yeah.
Like, these motherfuckers are running to sell books, man. Why you guys think they're not trying to upset the establishment too much?
Yeah.
He still called Joe Biden his friend. He's still a Zionist. Like, if you're gonna run a campaign, you're gonna do create a movement that will lead to some sort of revolution, right? You know you're not gonna be a friend. You know you're not gonna have any book deals, book deals coming up soon. So that's why you make sure you craft a lane for yourself. As you mentioned, CJ, go as far left as you possibly can, but within the parameter that the establishment will allow you. And that's what it seems like both of them doing. There's not any long term, like what happens after you lose. They keep saying nonsense like, "Well, I expect to win." I saw just there's a Fox News interview. Yeah. There's a Fox News interview with RFK, and I'm telling you, that's not a good answer to me. Like no. he asked, and Marianne Williamson asked it like, "Well, he was asked specifically, do you expect to endorse Joe Biden?" He's like, "Well, I don't expect to lose. I'm going to win."
He's
like,
lying.
what is the
He's
long
lying.
term? Like, that's not like you. Do you really believe that? Do you have any plan afterward? That shows that they just planning their this.
Well, this is how you got to ask the question. This is how you got to ask the question, and they're going to be forced to answer it. Do you think any Democratic candidate that's running should endorse the eventual nominee?
That's a great way to phrase it.
That's
yeah.
what you have to ask. That's the way you have to ask them. Go
Can
ahead.
I just say that this whole thing of them lying and misleading people, it is honestly one of the biggest things that to me, it's so disgusting. Marianne Williamson is very blatant about it. She was asked, I think, by Kyle Kalinske, can you beat Joe Biden? She's like, yes, absolutely. She's lying. She knows she cannot. Robert F. Kennedy has been asked numerous times. Kim Iverson, to her credit, did a great job of asking him, when the Democratic Party eventually screws you over, will you endorse the nominee? And his response was, why don't you have any faith in my candidacy? It's not about your candidacy, asshole. It's about the Democratic National Committee who went into a court of law and said, listen, we'll choose whoever we want and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the issue. And the idea that he's lying to people and fundraising off of it and taking money from people who don't have it to give to run a race that he knows he can't win, that's despicable. That's gross.
It's about them, not the movement.
Yes.
Remember
yes.
Marianne Wilson answer that we saw through McGinnis? It depends how they treat me. What are you talking about? No, it depends about what's better for the movement, you asshole. It had nothing to do with how they treat you. It's about what the movement needs. Go ahead, CJ.
Right, because to that point, if they treat her good, then she forget all those repress and oppressed people. Forget you guys. I was treated right. Like, isn't that essentially to the point that she's making? Now, Margaret goes into. Did I take that? Okay, I took it off. Now Margaret goes into the actual topic at hand, and that is he certainly got the Zionist message about Ukraine. I'm sorry, about Israel. Kennedy praised musician Roger Waters for his opposition to the Ukraine war, but then deleted his comment on Twitter because Waters also opposes Israeli apartheid. For good measure, he added meaningless blather about the, quote, so she points out the same thing, aspirations of the Palestinian people, which is just a bizarre way to be like, I'm for whatever that means.
What does that mean?
CJ,
go ahead.
CJ has a purpose. It's just really dumb social democrats. Like, I see it all the time. Remember when people were like, what do you mean Marianne Wilson's a Zionist? People ask us that question all the time. What do you mean?
Oh my God.
She said she supported the aspirations of the Palestinian people. Like, I see this all the time. I know you more offline than I am.
Yeah.
But this language actually does serve a purpose. Like, we see through it. Black Agenda Report see through it. But then Sam Cedar, Vanguard, dumb left, be like, oh, she actually good on Palestinian issues.
You don't get to both sides of genocide, assholes. You don't get to do that.
Remember, we was on Bad Faith, and Bree was like, wait, what do you mean her position on Israel? Because Marianne will say the fluff word, and Bree and other people will fall for it.
Yeah.
She supports the Iron Dome. She's against BDS. She supports the two-state
What do they
solution.
think a Zionist is? I'm confused now. Like, what exactly do you think a Zionist? Like, a Zionist? Do you not understand? Like the application of a Zionist almost. I mean, it has something to do with the Palestinian people, but that's not part. The definition of the person being a Zionist is what you think Israel should be doing. Exactly. And if you're saying Israel should be part of that is the Zionist part. Them saying I like the Palestinian people doesn't make them not Zionist. You know what I'm saying?
It's a nationalist movement. They all freak out about white nationalists. It's a nationalist movement. It's fascist. It's what it is. It's what it is. Just call it what the fuck it is. And the reason why, like I said earlier, the reason why this continues is because people are afraid. They're so scared of being labeled an anti-Semite. Oh, I'm not anti-Semitic. Who gives a fuck? Call me what you want. I don't care. I'm not going to be quiet about it. I'm not.
That shit doesn't work. And do you guys know what a Zionist is? Just like Missy said, it's a nationalist. These are people who support the Israeli settler colonial project. No, that's what for real. A Zionist is someone who just supports the Israeli project. They believe that Jews have the right to have their homeland. Now, people, whenever we call Marianne a Zionist, we call people Zionists, people think it's a slur. Zionist is not meant to be a slur. Zionist became a slur because that's how bad the Zionist movement is.
Yeah.
Being a Zionist is no different than being like, oh, I'm a liberal. Oh, I'm a conservative.
Right. They call themselves that. They call themselves that. You get what I'm saying? It's literally just a definition. It's like being a membership of something, like you're saying, to your point, Nick. Go ahead.
And Marianne Williamson and Bernie are smart because they know, like you guys know how like the Gen X liberal, they start calling themselves liberal instead of socialist because it make them look bad, right? Because that when socialists got a toxic term during the Reagan years. So they're like, oh, actually, I'm a liberal. Now I'm not a socialist or anything like that. I'm a social democrat. That's the same with Zionism, where more politically savvy people like Bernie and Marianne, who are Zionists, literally by definition are Zionists, them and their supporter will object to you using that term on them. But as you said, CJ, what do they think being a Zionist entails?
Yeah,
Guys, it's literally that simple. but literally describing supporting the settler colonial project is just inherently a slur because it's an indefensible position.
Yes.
It's that's why I can just say, oh, you're a Zionist, and then it's over for you. Like, it shouldn't be that way based on what you guys believe, but no one buys your bullshit. So just calling you a Zionist. Go ahead, CJ.
Is an appropriate backup question or follow-up question could be when you say I support, secure borders and to be the right to exist. What if I said, okay, we have this land over here next to Turkey. It's wide open. It's for sale. We'll give it to you guys. Y'all can move all over. Like, what would their response be? No, it has to be right here.
Yes.
Like, that doesn't make any. You're saying because they omit words that doesn't define this secure border to mean specifically at the land on the lands of Palestine. They just say, oh, wherever they just happen to be here. That's all. So they want to be secure here. No, it's you know what I mean? Like, so the point is specifically where they are now, not anywhere else. And I think I've yet to see anybody follow up with any left Zionists with that. Like, what if we give them an area over here? Would that be okay? I'm not sure they would even know how to answer that. How much of a Zionist, they don't understand what it means. I'm not sure how they would answer it. So,
because they think that they're entitled to that specific land, that they're the chosen people for that specific. It's holy land for them. This is about the religious beliefs and all of that stuff. Which
another important point that I have to make is the scourge of pacifism among social democrats and democratic socialists. I was just reading. I'm kicking myself. I'm blanking on the name of the book. I was just reading this Marxist book that was talking about how pacifism and social democrats should weaponize pacifism against marginalized communities, and that's another reason why social democrats become Zionists, because they start to look at Hamas. They start to look at Palestinians with disdain. Because they say, how dare those people use violence against the oppressor? Anyone who uses violence, no matter what the situation, is inherently the bad guy. That's why you have people like Marianne Williamson, who literally fearmonger about Hamas all the time. And they say, oh, well, what about the Palestinians? Marxists, we inherently don't believe in that. We believe in self-defense. We believe in the right of defending ourselves. We believe in the right that we should have arms and such. But social democrats preach pacifism that have never won a successful revolution. That had never won a successful revolution, and that's why they have been chosen by the capitalist class, because they are the suitable opposition. The opposition they want is the opposition that condones pacifism. If you guys remember, on the first panel we had on Palestinian Community Network, the Palestinian Community Network expressed frustrations with moderates in the Palestinian community that always condemn, like all groups, just like the Civil Rights Movement. There was the black moderates that fight against them. The Palestinian moderates are, oh my God, we should sit here and accept it, right? But that is always in the benefit of the oppressor, and that what MLK actually learned later. This is what they don't tell you. That's what they don't tell you guys. He said he later regretted his pacifism approach, and he agreed more with MLK.
Yep.
Anyway, I'll spare you guys. I can run on that all day.
Yeah,
I got the name of that book I was reading. I got recommended. It's a breakdown of pacifism and how the ruling class weaponizes it. It's something I've been reading recently. It's a great write. I gotta share it one day. But anyway, go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so let me just read to add. To the reason why we decided to add Marianne Williamson to the segment and have this be about both.
I didn't even see this. Breeze got me blocked.
So
I didn't see this either.
Oh, I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's
unfortunate.
She blocked me because and listen, guys, you guys know I go pretty hard. I was super nice about it.
I saw.
And I just very softly questioned the logic behind having Vaush, who called her subhuman, on her show for 3 hours. And I got blocked.
And I think it's weird. I think it's weird that Bree finds Vaush acceptable, even though Vaush called her subhuman. But Misty gave her a mild criticism, but she blocks her.
Very mild.
I can,
It was
and
so
I called
mild.
out in the thread. I
Yeah.
can't help but notice the class loyalty in that, Bree.
Yeah.
So Vosh calls you a subhuman fascist, but you have him on your show.
For
But
3
Misty gives you a
hours.
mild critique, and you block her.
Yeah.
What's up with those standards? It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, we can move on.
I would, if I would have known that, I wouldn't have brought the tweet up to trigger you.
No, it's fine. I didn't get to
Misty.
see it,
Yeah.
so I'm glad I can see it now.
But even Bree's part is not necessarily the point we can talk about, because it is an interesting point that she makes here. But this is the second point that she's making in the tweet. But I wanted to zoom in, and it's small, so I'll read it. What Marianne Williamson says here. So let's read it in sort of order. Bree says, and Marianne is objectively better than RFK Jr. on a variety of issues. Medicare for all is a big one for me, and that's the one that everybody points to. For instance, is what she uses. People will vote according to their priorities, but on this issue, it's a wash. So Bree is saying it's a wash, and that was the point to her first tweet, and I'll show that if needed. The initial tweet, because she quote tweets the video we played about RFK, and she says this is essentially the same thing that Marianne Williamson says, and why is he getting a pass? I didn't know he was getting a pass. I thought he was getting roasted, but I guess she felt like he was getting a pass. This person says both are clearly limited hangouts. Look at how quickly people fold back into the machine. It has obviously worked, but each to their own. But Marianne Williamson disagrees, even with Bree. She says, no, it is not the same. She's speaking to Bree. If you notice, Bree's the first one here. Anyone who thinks that his thoughts expressed there about Israel are the same as mine does not know my position on Israel. Now, we have video, but this is what she says. Now, I guess I can go to the thread and see if she said even more. I can go to the thread and see if she said any more. But what are your thoughts on that part while I look for the other part?
She's full of shit. That is her position. I've seen her talk about it. It is basically her position.
And just like RFK,
Go ahead.
RFK and Marianne Williamson have something in common. They delete their tweets so they can change their positions.
Yes. I told you. Maybe she did flip-flop, CJ. Like I said earlier, she flip-flops all the time. Maybe she did amend her position on Israel-Palestine, because she does that a lot. So it's possible.
We caught her deleting tweets. I even sent Bree the evidence. I sent her the evidence because I remember one tweet I called her out on. I searched my tweet and I saw her she deleted it. She spoke out against BDS. Like, she's literally on her show.
Yeah, she said it. That's what I was saying. It's a video of it. It's a video of her talking about this.
She endorsed the two-state solution on my show and then called me a mansplainer when I explained why having a one state with equal rights under law is a much better position. Like, and it's like, I think you're kind of actually mansplaining here. Like, no, your position on Israel, you had tried to make murky and confusing, but we are well read enough on this issue to know exactly where you stand. Yeah. We've seen the statements to know exactly where you stand. There's not much difference between you and RFK on this issue.
No.
So here is the tweet. I found the tweet. Here is the tweet with Bree, or the initial tweet, so you can see what she initially said. And here is what she said. So this is what Marianne Williamson was responding to. Was this when she said, no, this is not the same. So Bree says, I'm sorry. So this is Bree's tweet. RFK, quote, when I learned Roger Waters' position on Israel, I took the tweet down. My position on Israel is that I support Israel. My family has a long relationship with Israel. I support its right to exist and its right to protect its security. End quote. Reporter, and the Palestinians, RFK, and a humane outcome and recognition of ultimately the aspirations of the Palestinians people is important for everybody, end quote. So Bree goes on to say, somebody has another tweet. Somebody has me blocked there. It's very similar, if not identical, to Marianne Williamson's response.
That's why Marianne got mad.
Right.
She like, don't ever compare me to RFK, motherfucker. Remember, we know Marianne Williamson got temper issues.
Yeah, she
does. So she says, it's very similar, if not identical. So Bree wasn't even like, it's similar, like it's if not identical to Marianne Williamson's response, which I disagree with, but people seem to be holding RFK Jr. to a different standard.
Well,
I didn't see that because I thought he was.
If she didn't have me blocked, she would know that I roasted RFK Jr. She would. He didn't get a pass, homegirl. No pass given.
Well, Primo said RFK is objectively better than Marianne on various issues. Yep. But yeah, they equally suck on this. And then that's why she said, okay, that makes more sense now. I see it in order.
Right. Now you see the backstory to it. And let's just see if Marianne Williamson responded, because that's the whole reason I came here, is that we wanted to see if she went to, to explain more. And here's her tweet here. So, and also,
I feel like this response, and another reason why this is confusing, because I feel like this response should have been to Bree's other tweet. You know what I mean? Like, go to Bree's tweet. Go up.
Okay. Wait. Oh, sorry. My bad.
Like,
this
one
or the first
one? This one. She should post that one first, where she said that RFK and Marianne had the same. That's why it's confusing. Because why the fuck you respond to this one, Marianne? Anyway, we can continue.
Yeah, she should have, because the reason I think she does, because this language here. Objectively, or she says
that's why it doesn't make sense. That's why it didn't make sense for Marianne to be going after Bree when Bree literally complimented her in the beginning. But it's like Marianne was still mad that even though Bree gave her a compliment, Marianne is so petty. She's still mad that Bree had the audacity to even compare her to RFK. Who, if you want to,
it would be different if they weren't similar, but they are.
My suggestion to Marianne Williamson and her staff, the few that's left over, she had a lot of staff. The staff that's left over, I would suggest that you guys debate RFK. I suggested on her timeline. I said to me, people support me. Why don't she do it? But if you want to really highlight the differences between you and RFK, as you want to do on the Twitter timeline, why won't you debate them? I want to see you guys debate Israel and Palestine. See how much different. That would be a word salad bullshit debate.
Yeah.
And
somebody in the chat. Somebody in the chat just said Marianne Williamson didn't even support Medicare for all at first. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. She also didn't support Assange either. She went on Jimmy Dore's show and he made fun of her and she changed her position. That's what she does. She has no core politics. She has no core positions. She just floats through the wind, and whenever she needs to shift, she does. She is not a serious person at all.
Like a politician.
She studied the language, because you notice if you look at the interview she did with you and Sabby, then you look at the interview, you can tell she goes back and sees the critique she gets from the interview, then she just adjusts what she says.
Yep.
That's why now people are saying somehow she's not. I don't understand this logic. Clearly people don't know what a Zionist is, because I posted about this before. And they were like, what do you mean she's a Zionist? I'm like, I don't understand how this is even debatable. Like, what are you talking about? But now I understand people just generally don't even have any idea what a Zionist is. They don't know. And they don't know because of people like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Marianne. That's the reason why they don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yep.
They assume that if someone's Zionist, that their positions are. They assume that you're saying they're like Benjamin Netanyahu, right? But that's why Zionism is a slur, because Zionism will always be attached to Benjamin Netanyahu, and so you can speak and talk a big game all you want. Like Bernie, you will call Benjamin Netanyahu a thug, but are you guys being supportive of the United States funding Israel? Are you guys not? Are you going to stand up against that? Clearly, Marianne Williamson and them is not. Kamala Harris is also afraid of Benjamin Netanyahu, by the way. So I think people make the mistake, like, oh, if you call someone Zionist, that means saying that they're Benjamin Netanyahu. No, I'm saying that they support the Benjamin Netanyahu project, which is bad enough. That's bad enough. Anyway, I think we hope they learn eventually. But go ahead, CJ. Anything else you want to add to this story?
I mean, let me see. I do have just a couple funny add-on.
I have
an add-on here.
I have to go pretty soon. My show's at 6, so I need to get ready.
Okay. We can end it there.
We can wrap it. I got a few more segments that we can save for Jimmy. We about 2 hours there. I know Missy had to go soon. Anything else, CJ? Anything else we should
Yeah,
announce?
let Misty let us know what's going on in your show. You're getting ready to go do that in 20 minutes or 25 minutes or so.
Speaking of this, the Israel-Palestine thing, I saw somebody earlier in the chat talk about Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore has been somewhat supportive of RFK Jr., I think mostly because of his COVID positions, Ukraine positions. I know Jimmy supports Palestinian people, but I think a lot of people are concerned that Jimmy's not going to, people claim that he went like easy on Tulsi. I don't think he necessarily went easy on her. I think Jimmy's a very loyal guy. But I had Steph on yesterday, and she, totally agreed with everything that I said, and I went hard. So Steph was on yesterday. You guys can check that out. I think it should be up on the TNT Radio website, which is tntradio.live. Probably now. I would say it usually takes about 24 hours. But tonight we have. Go ahead.
Sorry, Missy, but I want to say the funny thing is I see people say that Jimmy never condemned Tulsi, I literally did. I did the show where he did that.
Yeah,
you guys know that. I was literally on the show when they was like, "Yo, this is crazy. What the fuck happened with Tulsi? Yeah, Tulsi fucking crazy now."
Yeah.
So yeah, we make mistakes.
He's just very loyal, and I think it's. Look at how loyal. Look at how long he was loyal to Cenk. Who was trashing him publicly forever before Jimmy ever hit back. I just think he's a very loyal guy, and so I think a lot of people mistake that for him being weak on somebody. I don't think that that's the case. But I'm also probably biased because I'm friends with them and I like him and whatever. So yeah, tonight Oz from Roar Media from Beauty and the Boomer is on the show, which is going to be a lot of fun. Next week there's a crazy. We have a crazy awesome lineup. I think Monday is, hold on, let me pull it up. Monday is Abel Tomlinson. Tuesday's Nico House. Wednesday is Dave DeCamp. Thursday is Alex Rubenstein, and Friday is Ford Fisher. So an amazing week next week. My show is Monday through Friday.
You brought your YouTube back, right?
Yeah, my YouTube. The bitch is coming back tomorrow. I'm collaborating with INN on that. They're helping me out with like the behind the scenes techie stuff because I'm terrible at it. So tomorrow on I think YouTube, Rumble, Rockfin, all the places. Bitch is gonna be back 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what we're doing yet. It might just be me ranting. There might be some people. Sleepy's coming. Sleepy Josh is gonna be there. He's gonna be my tech guy. And I love ranting with Sleepy, so that's gonna be fun. He'll probably be there every week, and then we'll have like rotating people come in and out. And then my show on TNT is Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, and it's fun. I like it. Good stuff.
So tomorrow we'll have just make sure you gotta check us out on Rumble. We stream on YouTube as well, but you guys need to get on Rumble because censorship on YouTube.
Get away from YouTube, please.
And Rumble's better, guys. Like you can play Rumble in the background. This is why I've been listening. I listen to Glenn and Jimmy on Rumble. You can listen to Rumble on the background, and that I told you guys before. Most of the time, I listen to stuff. That's why I read it out loud because I usually have stuff playing in the background while I'm doing chores or something. So Rumble, you can literally play in the background while you do stuff. So that's one of the many benefits of Rumble. So I'm obviously biased because I'm pissed at YouTube, and I'm pissed so I'm biased. But I promise you, I've been using Rumble. I like it. We're gonna be on there tomorrow. We had a good show on Rumble today as well. Jimmy Dore will be joining us at 3 p.m. Eastern time, so it's gonna be a good show. That's all I have. And then Nick and CJ back on Monday. CJ, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'll just shout out some announcements. So if you two want to take off, you can do that. I'm gonna go through the flyers and stuff like that just to go through our.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right. So first one, he just announced that the Jimmy Dore event is tomorrow, or our Rumble launch is tomorrow. So make sure if you are around, you join us. It's probably going to be somewhere 3 or 4 Eastern. On the East Coast, noon or 1. West Coast, noon or 1, something like that. It might be around. Also, don't forget, or we didn't announce, but on Monday, the Post-Duopoly show makes a return. Now we're on Rumble, Rockfin, and YouTube. So, and that's the show with RBN, Heartlands Media, and Do Dissidents. I think we narrowed down a date, and I think that date is Monday. So in a couple of days. So you have Misty today. Tomorrow you have Jimmy Dore, or tomorrow we have Jimmy Dore. On Sunday, you're going to have the JB show. On Monday, you're going to have the Post-Duopoly show. So Nick mentioned the Nick and CJ show, but usually when we do the Post-Duopoly show, we usually don't do the Nick and CJ show on the same day. So make sure you check out all of those events there. And then I also want to make sure I shout out this event. The Long Beach chapter of RBN of the Revolutionary Blackout Network will be having a Skid Row outreach, just providing clothing and food. So we'll probably get some pizzas. There's a lot of people down there, vendors helping down there. Last time I went down there, it was a hot dog, people cooking hot dogs from or grilling hot dogs. So we're probably, I don't know, we'll either pick up pizzas or pick up some Subway sandwiches, something where they can just kind of take and not have to have a bunch of stuff. And then we'll go to Goodwill and pick up some items. Requested items on Skid Row. Socks is a highly requested item in the winter. It's blankets and jackets are highly requested. So if you are in the position to donate, there's our Cash App and Venmo. Cash App is Mutual Aid Forever. Venmo is Forever Mutual Aid. And if you want to help, like physically help, you're in the area, you can email us at outreach@revblacknetwork.com. Outreach@revblacknetwork.com. So that is another announcement. I'll toss up some of your I'm going to read your super chats. I think Nick forgot we had super chats. So I'm going to do that next here. But 1 second, everybody. I guess I won't do that. I was going to say I can add this story, but no, let's not do that. Let's just go ahead and read super chats and we'll get out of here. So yeah. All right, so let's go. Here we go. Here goes a super chat. I don't think we read this one. It says, but guys, Rumble is only for right wingers. I think you're being sarcastic. I think you read that actually. I think he read this one. And let's go to your second one here. I recognize fortifying is massive overhead, and there are constant fires to put out, but that 7-day ban will not be the last worst time are being suppressed by capitalist community. Step up and share, give. Absolutely. So as we get larger, or the hope is this, as we grow and more people are watching, more people are able to donate to whatever causes we're having, and then we're able to do more. So at first we didn't have an editor for a while, and now we're able to bring on an editor, and we have the fundraiser that's usually scrolling at the bottom. I don't know why I took it down, but the fundraiser that's usually scrolling at the bottom is for raising funds to pay our editor. So you can go to our GoFundMe and see. I think we've reached $600 of the goal of $1,000. So, but that's the goal. As we grow, more people that know us are able to then donate, and we're able to help more and do more. So, if you're able to, please do. And if you're not, just share, and that's the way we'll work it here. Let's go to the next one. RFK's daughter-in-law is CIA. Yes. I think Misty briefly mentioned it, or maybe it was Nick, but yes, CIA. That's another reason for me. Stay woke, gray zone, Jimmy Dore aren't behind criticism, maintain revolutionary discipline, class consciousness. Sean Brock. Petty bourgeoisie will never lead a revolution. Yes, and we've been preaching this to the hillsides, or we've been preaching this on RBN, this particular point. All they want is to replace the ruling class. They think we're stupid and lazy, and they hate democracy. Let's continue. Thank you for all of these super chats. And I'll go back and say thank you for the €2, the $10, then $10 again, then the $5 from Sean, $5 from Sean again. And now I'm on this one from Mama Molly. When are you going to retract what you all said about Marianne Williamson, given so many staff and ex-staff came out and point out how false everything was amounting to trash journalism? I'm not sure what this is. When are you going? There's nothing to retract if you're talking about us. I'm trying to be clear. There's nothing to retract on my end. But I don't know if this is related, but this jogs my memory about Peter Dow said something. I'm a release from the Marianne Williamson NDA and gave some bullshit. No, and nobody believes that. You understand? Nobody believes that. Okay, so he could say all of what he wants. This is all damage control. This is part of the damage control, including the tweet of him saying, "Oh, I'm released from some NDA." Get the fuck out of here. Being released from some NDA doesn't mean he's going to tell the story. Those don't equal the same thing. Okay, being able to say I'm released, yeah, you're released. That doesn't mean he's going to now tell the story. Get the fuck out of here. So, not you. I'm sorry, not Mama Molly. I don't think that's what you're saying. But I've seen this online, which is just ridiculous. Just falling for this another rebranding of Peter Dow, the rebrand guy. Thank you for. I think this is called a super sticker, and another super sticker here. Thank you for those super stickers. And then here's a comment. Thank you for this super chat. I am furious. Don't give a who your fam is friends with. That is true with RFK. I believe that's what RFK segment. Showing my peeps some love on this Friday, deconstructing topics. Make sure you, I believe you have a podcast. Always enjoying everyone from RBN and all in between. I thank you for all. I think there was 10 super chats for this stream. I believe they auto save now, so which is a great feature. So that means we got them all without missing any. So, all right. So now I think we can go ahead and get out of here. Make sure you watch us or check back in with us tomorrow for the stream with Jimmy Dore. And we're going to leave it there. No outro video today. And thank you for watching RBN.